So this kind of ties in with the last video that I did, and it was about my time where I've backslidden in my Christian walk. And, you know, but I also want to talk about in this video, because this video does tie in kind of with the backsliding video, where I talked about kind of like my little testimony of how, um, you know, that there was weeks where I was going through, like days of backsliding and getting distracted easily and falling into my temptations more and falling into my lust more, falling into distractions more, falling into worldly things more, falling into, things that, didn't involve, the Lord, um, and, um, and that was basically my backsliding times. Those were in time. That was my backsliding weeks. Like I felt like, and even today, like I feel like I'm still going through, weeks, still going through, like times where I do fall short, and we all do. But I mean, like I was going through, um, just times where I was like easily falling short of the glory of God and just acting like I didn't care, basically. That it was basically just felt like that, man. And um, I felt like I felt like my interest for God, man. It was like I felt like it was just growing cold, you know, where like I was like going down and like my faith level was like kind of dropping a little bit, not all the way, but like dropping like slowly. But in this video I want to talk to you about and like I said, this video kind of ties in with the last video, but I just want to say, and I might even make these videos like together, but I might put these videos together to make them one video, but so I could just share my whole testimony on this. But um, so there was even times, man, where there was times in my walk with Jesus where I was literally like really close, to I was really close to almost, throwing in the towel, throwing into. There was times where I was really close, man, to like I've had so many doubts to the point where it almost made me give up on my relationship with Jesus and even giving up on just Christianity in general. And man, like I was going through, and I think that started, I there was one time, okay, so I got one time the temptation. Um, so I was, in my walk with Jesus, I was continuing my walk with Jesus, my journey with God. And I remember this was in August, man, and I don't even remember the exact day. It was August 16th. It was August 16th to August 17th because this happened like right after I got off of work, okay? So I got off of work, and the time I get off of work is midnight, and so I got off of work, and you know I was like, something in me was getting me the temptation to just like forget all of what happened, all of the just what I'm basically trying to say is I was tempted to go back to my old ways. I was tempted to go back to my sinful desires. I was tempted to go back to the world. And this was not just that day. I think I was going through a season, man, where I, like each and every day I was getting that temptation, man, where I was getting that temptation to just give up, to fall away, to go back into my old ways, to go back into my sinful desires and just forget all of this that just happened. Like I was going through a series, like a whole season, guys, and I think it was in October when I was going through this. I was just going through days of doubts, man, and I don't know if it was really just God, trying to test my faith. I feel like it was maybe, I think I was going through like a huge trial, because it started to get scary, guys. Like, I was going through days of doubts in my walk with God, and just getting the temptation to just give up, to throw in the towel, to go back to the world, to go back to my sinful desires after, the Lord delivered me from those things, and just going back into the old ways, and just going back and just moving on with my life. And I even remember there was this one day, okay, and it was in the same setting. It was while I was at work. I was at work, right? And and so I was at work, and this was October 6th. I remember this day. And and I was going through, and I was at work, right? And guys, I so what happened was, obviously I've gotten the temptation to give up again, and I was having the temptation of doubt again. And then um guys, I fell into the temptation, and I fell into the temptation of going back into the world. I fell into the temptation of going back into my old sins, going back into my old ways, going back into, you know, going back to my sinful desires. And I remember now at that moment when I was doing it, guys, like it felt good. Like it felt like it gave me a pleasure for a minute, guys. But I'll tell you guys, when I got home from work that night, I remember when I got home from work that night, I was like, man, like, now I think the reason I went back, so the reason was, there was two reasons I went back, came back to Jesus. Because number one, you have to understand that if you don't have Jesus Christ in your life is nothing, man. Like, if you don't have, because I've been through this. When I fell into my sinful desires, guys, when I've fallen short of the glory of God, I'll tell you, these things like just are worthless now. The things of this world, they're just worthless now. Like, when you have Jesus Christ in your life, these things like just like, because I felt it. I felt it. Like, it just does not give you the satisfaction. Like when you're in a relationship with Jesus, now it just makes you, when you fall short, now you just be like, dang, like, why did I do that? Like, why did I do? And that's good, because it shows that, you have two natures now. You have the spirit now, and you have the flesh now. When you were in the flesh, you obviously didn't care about the way you were living. Like, you didn't care. Like, you were happy just living your own life. You didn't care about the sinful things you were doing. But now we have two natures now. We have the spirit now, and we have the flesh now. So obviously when you fall into, temptation, yet, yes, it may feel good for a second, but then when you're done with that sin, obviously there comes the guilt and the shame, and that's kind of how this felt when I fell into the temptation to go back in the world. I was like, man, like, no, I want to continue my relationship with Jesus. Because I'll tell you guys, when I fell into those temptations sometimes, I'll tell you, like, in conclusion, it's just, life is not, it's not the same without Jesus. If you don't have Jesus Christ in your life, it's just worthless. Everything is so worthless. Like, it's like, if you don't have Jesus Christ, our lives are just, there's just no hope. Like, because I've been through it. When I fall short of the glory of God, sometimes, most of the times, guys, I'd be like, man, like, no, just being with Jesus and just hanging with Jesus is more better than just being in these things of the world. Like when you have the spirit living inside of you, it like gives you this feeling of like, man, I'm like, no, I'd rather, spend time with the Lord. I'd rather just be with the Lord than just to do these things. Like, these things, those things just don't, like, because I've been through it, guys, where I fell like into the temptations of the world, and it just gives me a different nature now, where I'm like, no, I just, like, now these things don't hit the same. Like, these things don't hit, these things just don't bring me satisfaction like how Jesus does when I'm spending time with him and spending time in his love. And so, guys, in conclusion of this video, I just want to say, in my testimony, to not give up on God. Let's continue to walk in our relationship with Him, and let's continue to walk in obedience to Him, and let's continue to seek Him day by day in His love and peace in our lives, with the understanding that it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. Jesus loves you. All right, guys. Have a great day. God bless, and I'll talk to you guys soon.